This is RTV6 News at 7, working for you.
Good evening to you. I'm Mark Mullen.
And I'm Amanda Starantino. We are learning more tonight about the shooting at this Northeast Side Subway restaurant that left an employee dead.
35-year-old Ashok Kumar was shot and killed last night in what police say was an attempted armed robbery.
RTV6's Stephanie Wade shows you this is not the first time this area has been hit with violence.
I've been speaking with other businesses in this shopping center here, all telling me they feel terrible for this employee who lost his life last night. People here at this pizza restaurant saying they know him very well. He's a nice man. And also saying this isn't the first time an armed robbery has happened at this shopping center.
He's a really good guy. Very nice, always happy, smile. Yeah, that's very sad for him, for his family.
While mourning the loss of his friend, an employee at this Subway restaurant off of Shadeland and 75th Street, shot and killed last night in an armed robbery. Hans Pizarro can't help but think back to the 2 times he was also robbed at gunpoint while working at this pizza joint just next door.
I scared for my life because I got only supporting my family. Yeah, so I take care of my family, so I got my daughters.
Pizarro wasn't hurt in either armed robbery, but his friend wasn't so lucky. Police are still searching for 3 suspects you can see here wearing all black clothing. 2 have black face masks on. The 3rd was wearing a leopard print face mask. The suspects also wearing black backpacks. Pizarro's worried if police don't step up patrols or add security, it will affect business in the area. Working for you on the Northeast Side, Stephanie Wade, RTV6.
And right now, Indianapolis Metro Police need your help identifying the car seen in this picture. Detectives say someone inside this silver car fired shots at officers. IMPD says officers tried to pull the vehicle over along Keystone Avenue. The driver would not stop, and shots were fired from the car as officers were following it. Another shot was fired where the chase ended near MLK Street and 32nd Street. No one was hurt in the shooting, and officers did not return fire. IMPD says the car they are looking for is a silver Ford Fusion with an In God We Trust license plate number ATJ 371. If you recognize the car or spot it, call IMPD or Crime Stoppers.
And Fishers police need help identifying the man seen in this picture right now. They say he robbed a Regions Bank near 116th Street and Allisonville Road around 3:30 this afternoon. They say he approached the teller with a gun and demanded money. The teller complied and the suspect got away. Investigators say he's 30 to 40 years old and was wearing a hat and coat. If you recognize him, get in touch with the Fishers Police Department.
Tonight we sit down with a woman fighting for change after distracted driving led to the loss of a family member. Today, Indiana is one step closer to having a stricter distracted driving law.
RTV6's Megan Sanctorum is working for you to find out what this bill means as one widow shares her message.
Photos and memories of Brian Sire are all his wife and kids have left to hold on to after he was hit and killed while trying to cross the road.
He had the light for him, for the pedestrian to cross, and the right-of-way, and an 18-year-old driver hit him.
Kelly Sire says an investigation showed the driver was distracted and using his phone moments before the crash. That was about 8 years ago. And since then, she says she's seen more and more people using their phones while driving. So she started reaching out to lawmakers and pushing for change. It's taken a couple of years, but she's optimistic this current bill will move forward.
The proposed legislation would make it illegal to hold and use a cell phone while in the driver's seat of a moving car. Any cell phone or GPS activity would have to be done hands-free or with voice technology.
If passed, she knows changes won't happen overnight, but she says it will be a big step toward a cultural shift in driving habits. She's hoping that by sharing her story, she can help stop another family from losing a loved one.
Horrible things can happen in a millisecond, in a second, by a decision you're making. And I know that the people doing it don't want that to happen. And I would just like to see this sort of trend, and I think it's an epidemic, stop.
Working for you, Megan Sanctorum, RTV6.
Well, covering education as we take a live look at the IPS school board meeting. It's happening right now, and you can see the board there.
I'm greeted warmly by my students.
Usually we're hearing from representatives and parents in the audience who talk about certain issues they might be dealing with. Tonight, we're talking about school buses and a possible decision of outsourcing that service.
And IPS says if their recommendation to outsource school bus service is approved, employees will start meeting with the new company on Friday. The plan to hire First Student to transport 25,000 kids is set to save the district $7 million. The switch was announced last week. First Student would run more than 300 routes across the district.
Well, here's a closer look at that deal before the school board. The contract with First Student is valued at $33 million. It would be a 3-year contract with the option for another 3 years. The contract could be dropped if the company fails on the upkeep of the buses or if there's an unsafe record that emerges. We do have an update for you on the board's vote on the bus recommendation tonight on RTV6 News at 11.
And the quiet week continues as we look live outside from our Weather Now camera.
Storm Team 6 Chief Meteorologist Kevin Gregory is looking ahead to that morning rush hour forecast, too.
And temperatures this evening stuck in the 30s. They'll be in the 30s when you wake up tomorrow morning. 32 in Indianapolis, 31 in Peru. Temperature 2 degrees warmer down in Bloomington. Indianapolis has been between 31 and 34 all day long. Metro temperatures not much different. If you're driving around this evening, be aware we've had flurries, even some very light drizzle. I'm not expecting problems on the roadways, but just watch the bridges and overpasses wherever the air can get under the road surface, more likely to freeze versus other locations. There's the gray of the cloud cover that will keep our temperatures locked in place. The wind is light to calm. It will stay that way. Temperatures tomorrow morning as you're off to work will be in the low 30s. Here your overnight flurries, maybe a little light drizzle. Temperatures tomorrow right back in the mid-30s. But when we will warm up, that's in my forecast coming up.
Well, new technology is on the radar of the federal government, and tonight we're exploring how it works.
The Federal Trade Commission is discussing voice cloning, including its uses and possible abuse.
Mallory Sophostai shows you why it was invented and how voice cloning has helped those dealing with certain health conditions and how it could cause you financial harm.
You can just type stuff into a text editor and then push play and it will say it.
Text-to-speech has helped those without a voice communicate, but the technology has advanced.
Now the voice can sound like your own.
We first really got involved in this when we copied Roger Ebert's voice.
Sarah Proc in Scotland is one of several companies offering voice cloning software. In addition to Ebert, they recreated the voice of a longtime Washington radio correspondent.
The U.S. Supreme Court has basically punted on the issue of legislative gerrymandering.
After a rare neurological disorder made it hard for him to speak. And they helped a 12-year-old quadriplegic boy with cerebral palsy sound his age.
I'm Andrew, a synthesized Scottish accented child's voice from Sarah Proc.
And you realise how important it is to them, how personal it is to them, how much it's part of their being, really, to be able to speak.
Our voices are part of our identity. Some that are so recognizable. You know who they are.
I know Santa Claus well. He's a great guy. Very smart.
But is it really them?
Our nation is at war against a far-reaching network of violence and hatred.
These voices were recreated by Sarah Proc, a benign example of other ways voice cloning can be used, but the Federal Trade Commission worries about malicious counterfeiters.
I pick up the line and it sounds just like my husband. And my husband says, "Hey honey, my phone died. I had to borrow a phone from my friend because I forgot we had a payment to make and that's due today. Could you please make that payment?"
Even without voice cloning, many have fallen victim to scammers pretending to be a grandchild.
Could there be something that alerts you that, hey, this might not actually be the real person on the other line, even though they sound similarly like the real person?
These are questions the FTC hopes to have answered by industry experts in a public workshop.
How they are distinguishing between a real human voice, your real voice, and then a potential clone of your voice.
And the ethics of voice cloning. Can anyone take clips of your voice and recreate your sound without permission?
There's no clear legal framework for how people's identity in terms of those voices protected, and that needs to change.
Dr. Aylett knows that as the technology becomes more available, this could become an issue. But there's also no going back.
The ability to express yourself to tell jokes, to have this sort of timing, to sound annoyed. You know, I mean, these things are things we take for granted when we have a normal voice.
And for now, it's being used to help those who've been silenced speak again.
Coming up here in RTV6, students walk out of class in solidarity with a classmate. Why Ball State is drawing protests this week.
And still ahead, Indiana and the nation can't run without them, but we're facing a major truck driver shortage. How some companies are working to get more people on the roads when the news continues on RTV6.
Stream it live on CourtTV.com.
All right, you want to sit here or do you want to leave?
Why am I moving in the middle of class? He legit stopped the class to try to move me. I've been back here on this PowerPoint.
Are you being disruptive in the class?
No, I'm not doing nothing. The whole damn class is here. It's cool. It's cool. You know what? I'm going to leave.
He's been on our work the whole time.
That recent confrontation between a professor and a student has others at Ball State University taking action. The professor called university police after the student refused a request to change seats. Other students say there have been prior complaints about that professor.
And today, students walked out of their classes at Ball State to stand in solidarity with Sultan Benson, the student in the midst of that confrontation.
Ball State's president was among those attending the walkout. He has previously said the school's dean met with the professor and that he will be monitored moving forward. But Benson says that's not enough.
You gonna call the police while I'm paying attention to what you're teaching? You gonna call the police while the rest of these students out here trying to learn? Not only was I put at risk, because we all know how situations with the police go with young African American men, correct? Not only was I at risk, the rest of my class was at risk.
Student groups are demanding that the tenured professor retire and go through sensitivity training.
They also want more conflict training for all faculty members, and they are also calling for a new student-led committee to advocate for issues important to the student body. Each day brings new developments in the global coronavirus spread, how more places in the United States are taking precautions against this illness. Next.
And the temperature trend up and away. We'll talk about how warm and for how long coming up.
Gonna be a WeatherTech day. Perfect weather today. This is RTV6 News at 7, working for you.
Tonight, all the victims' bodies have been recovered from the scene of the crash of a helicopter that was carrying basketball icon Kobe Bryant and his 13-year-old daughter. They and 7 others were killed Sunday in Southern California. That crash is being described as pretty devastating, with debris spread over 500 feet. The National Transportation Safety Board, it is investigating, and officials say they are confident they will determine the exact cause of the helicopter crashing into a canyon.
President Trump's legal team wrapped up its case in the Senate impeachment trial today. This as senators consider whether to call witnesses in the trial after a claim reported by the New York Times. It says former National Security Advisor John Bolton's book alleges Trump explicitly linked a freeze on military aid to Ukraine with investigations into his political rivals. Up next in the proceedings, now the House's prosecutors will join Trump's defense in a 2-day Q&A session. Meanwhile, the White House today, President Trump announced his plan to bring peace to the Middle East. Protests against the plan have already begun in the Gaza Strip. ABC's Karen Travers is in Washington with the details of the peace plan.
This was a peace plan 3 years in the making, but its prospects are dim. Critics say it heavily favors Israel and it doesn't solve long-standing contentious issues in a fair way. President Trump today unveiled his long-awaited blueprint for peace in the Middle East.
For the first time in many, many decades, I can say it will work. It's going to work. If they do this, it will work.
The president said he was presenting a win-win opportunity for Israelis and Palestinians.
A realistic two-state solution that resolves the risk of Palestinian statehood to Israel's security.
Standing by the president's side, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Notably absent, anyone from the Palestinian side. Palestinian officials cut off ties with the Trump administration in 2017 after the U.S. recognized Jerusalem as Israel's capital. Within hours of the president's announcement today, Palestinian leaders rejected his proposal, saying it was, quote, nonsense and based on Israeli vision. The plan calls for the creation of a state for Palestinians, but only after they make a number of political and territorial concessions. Still a major point of contention, the future of Jerusalem, which both sides claim as their capital. Under this plan, the Palestinians would get a capital in outer portions of East Jerusalem, with Israel keeping territory it currently controls.
Under this vision, Jerusalem will remain Israel's undivided, very important, undivided capital.
The timing of the announcement was curious, coming during the Senate impeachment trial. But a senior source involved in the planning said revealing it now was not designed to distract from what was happening on Capitol Hill. Karen Travers, ABC News, the White House.
More U.S. airports will start screening passengers for signs of the deadly Wuhan coronavirus. The Centers for Disease Control is sending staffers to 20 airports this week to monitor flights from China. They'll ask nearly all arriving passengers a series of questions. Officials say they will test anyone showing signs of respiratory illness right away. The CDC has issued a level 3 travel advisory for the country, so that means everyone should avoid all unnecessary travel to China. The virus has infected thousands of people worldwide. We have at least 5 confirmed cases here in the U.S.
Kevin Gregory joins us now with a look at the forecast. Another gloomy day outside.
Yeah, you talked about the dog days of summer. We hear that, right? This is kind of the dog days of winter.
Here they are, yeah.
Locked into cloudy sky pattern. There's some sunshine in the forecast, and there's a definite warm-up. We just got to be patient for all of that. Out of the clouds this evening, we're getting some flurries and drizzle. Temperatures the next couple of days about average for this time of year. We won't make our move toward warming up until we get to the weekend. Let's talk about the next 3 days. 2 of the next 3 in the 30s. We'll have a chance at a little bit of sunshine Thursday. Back to mostly cloudy skies again Friday, but temperature at least reaches 42. That's above average. Anything above 36 is above average. When will temperatures balloon? That's early next week. Now, the question is, will it last into Tuesday as well? Right now, I think it will. If the timing changes, we may just squeeze out 1 day in the 50s instead of 2. The mild air Monday and Tuesday will be pushed to the south and east by the time we get to the middle of the week. That will allow the colder air to return, but the potential's there for temperatures to climb well into the 50s. The transition will include some rain, it looks like, as we go through Tuesday and into Wednesday. We've had drizzle this evening and some very light flurries. I was just outside the back door here of the studio. You had to stare at the lights to actually see the very fine snow flakes and flurries in the air. Nothing dominant, that's for sure. Temperatures 31 in Tipton. We're holding steady at 32 degrees in Indianapolis. We've only been between 31 and 34 all day long. Temperatures tonight won't change a whole lot. 10 o'clock, there are some flurries, areas of drizzle. Again, just watch bridges just to be careful. Those will be the first to freeze up, but I'm not expecting anything accumulating, so the road shouldn't be in bad shape. Stays mostly cloudy tomorrow. Temperatures again struggle in the mid-30s. Just to show you, the clock changes. Not much else does. The clouds are in place. Thursday, a little bit of sunshine. That's a change. Temperatures will be in the upper 30s for a high. Just to show you, 7 a.m. Thursday. Notice the thin spots in the clouds that develop through the day. It won't be mostly sunny, but at least some sunshine will help boost your spirits. It will boost the temperature a little bit, closer to 40 degrees. If 40 is your goal, we'll get there. Barely Saturday, definitely on Sunday. Saturday's weather system seems to be weak, won't have a big impact. Temperatures of around 40 degrees. As you look at your 7-day planner, over the next 7 days, progressively warmer, peaking early next week. Say hello to Punxsutawney Phil. It's Groundhog Day on Sunday. Will he see a shadow? That's the question. No matter what he says, temperatures above average at least to start the month.
Good evening to you, Philip.
Yes.
Still ahead here, the big reveal on this year's Indy 500 ticket design. We've got that for you. You're watching RTV6 News at 7.
Visit ChooseYourChevy.com.
Right now on RTV6, we are 117 days away from the 104th running of the Indy 500.
And that means today we got to see this year's race tickets at City Market downtown. Simon Pagino was there to unveil the tickets with a photo from Victory Circle just after drinking the celebratory glass of milk.
Those 2020 race tickets will be going in the mail very soon. Cheers with the milk.
I love thinking of May.
Did you say May 24th? I wasn't totally listening, but I think May 24th. That is race day. Okay, just a few flurries around tonight. Other than that, not much change tomorrow.
Have a good evening, everyone.
See you at 11.